Oh, I did not say that. I did not say that. Okay. I am Silvester a clinical supervisor here at Shamiri. It's been a wonderful experience joining the Shamiri group, going through the training, impacting students, and also working with an amazing team here at Shamiri. My teenage years have been somewhat an imbalance of both difficult and good times because I'm from a family of a single mother, and she was everything. You know, she still is, providing everything, catering for my brothers and my sister. So I remember during my prime years of teenagehood, mom got sick. She has some chronic illness, and then most of the time she was in the hospital. At this time, I think I was in Form 1 or Form 2. And I remember I was the one taking care of my two younger brothers. So I have to sacrifice my time for school to prepare them, take them to school. Then I can prepare myself and go to school. So I'll report to school sometime around 10. It became an issue until the administration now had to follow up what was going on. Eventually, I had to tell them what was going on because if I need some grace, at least I need them to understand life as it is from my perspective. And during this time, as I was taking care of my brothers, I realized I had a lot of anger issues. It was mostly to them because I felt like they're derailing my experience as a teenager, because if I'm not taking care of them, I'm probably taking care of the house. Mom is either not able to do, because it's a heart condition, she's not able to do a lot of heavy stuff. So that would mean mom is either resting or out and about. Then I'm the one taking care of them, washing their dishes, showing them homework, washing their clothes, toilet training as well. And my peers are playing. Sometimes I had to be pulled out from a game I was playing with my peers to go and take care of them. So yeah, I had all that anger built up, pent up inside. It carried along all the way up to Form 4-ish, I think. Up to around Form 4. Actually, it did spill over into my first year of campus. It did, because I remember I have scenarios I can remember vividly where I had to crash a few items out of anger. But yeah, that was basically the whole of it. Did I have friends? Very little friends and little time to keep up with them, because home was the priority. Whether I wanted it or not, home was the priority. I have to see it, know what people are doing, people are going to eat for supper, where my brothers are, who they're playing with, where are their peers, how is mom doing as well, because sometimes she'll need help to get out of the bed. Eventually I managed, so yeah. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a doctor. That was my dream, to be a doctor. I wanted to be a surgeon. More or less a neurosurgeon, just to help my mom. My whole dream was, I was so focused on how I can help my mom, at least be a neurosurgeon, see what we can do with the heart and whatnot. But as I was growing up, I remember sometime around class 6, that was the first I ever heard the word psychology. It was an article, either on Citizen or Nation. I can't remember. There's an article around that time, 2010-ish, around that time. And then, so when we were talking about it, I remember me and my classmates, we were there arguing what psychology is, and they were saying it's studying people's minds. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'd like to know what people are thinking every single time. But then that was it. I didn't have a lot of information. Yeah, by then phones were not so accessible as they are right now to do research. So you are only feeding information based on what you're told by someone you'd consider an authority, So yeah, it was like now another built up interest. The mind, but still heavily inclined towards being a neurosurgeon. Um, Finished my primary, went all the way to high school. Now, after high school, unfortunately, I did not get the cut points to become a surgeon. But then I was well above average for psychology. And then I was like, well, it's fine. Let me go study people's minds. I mean, to something, to there, So let me go and do that. But to my shock, it was not really about studying people's mind. It was more about studying their behavior. And I really, really liked it because, yes, my whole idea of what psychology was wrong from the start. But during my training, I realized there's a lot of information I learned about myself and my behavior. Because if I look at it this way, I didn't have a father. It was mom all along, but then her brothers, my uncles, were almost always there. So I would say at least I had father figures. But then this whole experience made me have more of female friends than male friends. Now, psychology into it now is what made me realize I had an issue with anger and how well I would deal with it. So, yeah. Listening to music. Yeah, listening to music is one of them. Because most of the time I was alone in the house with kids. And I can't go to play. And even if I go to play, it will be for very little time and then I'm back into the house. So what worked was listening to music. Any day, any time. I remember even waking up to prepare them. First thing was music should be on. Close to loud. Well, I can't say how loud that was, but close to loud. Something I can hear even when I'm in the bathroom. So yeah, I'll listen to it until I'm now closing the door to go to school. So that was one. And then of course, having plenty of time by myself, I ended up becoming comfortable with being alone. So to a point that these days, if I want to recharge, I have to disconnect all the ways. Phone silent, go to a bubble space just by myself. And then in that moment, I'm able to think through life, think about issues as they are, and then, maneuver through that. And of course, music. I think I have a couple of those. One will be, I think it was in 2015. It should be 15 or 16. Mom had left me and my other brothers at home. And then I can't remember what exactly my brother did. It was a small issue, but nilimchapa seriously. Nilimchapa seriously, and I was like, I also felt sad. I remember when mom came back home, she cried, telling me never to ever beat my brothers again. I think that time is when I started reflecting what was going on to my mind, because why did I beat my brother that much, And then besides that, I didn't do much. I just noticed there's something wrong. I overreacted, Then 2016 or thereabout, I had a girlfriend. And this time we had a very serious disagreement, and I really, really did an outburst of anger in front of her friends, in front of my friends. It was messed up in so many ways, in so many levels. I ended up breaking the relationship. So, then it was that was like the turning point now, because I remember after that, it was a whole journey of this huge emotion I'm feeling inside with heavy negative thoughts that I don't know what to do about them. And I don't know also where to seek help exactly, because most of my life I've grown up in the ghettos in Kayole. So places to seek help, health seeking behavior is not really something you can hear people talk about. It's just stop crying, it will be okay. Just, and then you stop crying, and then it will never be okay because you didn't deal with it. So it's been that way. Until now, I joined campus, and then it was like, oh, so there's things like therapy, there's things like counseling, blah, 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 friends you can vent to, books you can read. All that was like, good progress, you know. Now, in my family, my mother's side especially, we have, I like to call it a history. People tend to have a lot of anger, you know. I don't imagine it's more than average, because if it's conflicts, every family has conflicts, every friend has conflicts, every friendships, you know. And so part of it was trying to imagine how would I survive in this environment, because if you show anger, it was often likely you're going to get beaten for it, you know. And sometimes you could also get support, so you wouldn't actually know how it's going to react, how it's going to be. But so long as you reacted with anger, you're going to know, even if you want to be beaten, you're going to have a very serious argument or confrontation with people at home. If not your mother, my aunts, my uncles. And along the years, every time I displayed anger, I remember my mother and my grandmother were very, very instrumental into making me know that I'm showing anger. And sometimes it was more than acceptable terms, as they put it, you know, because sometimes I couldn't tell how much anger is sufficient, how much anger is not sufficient. I just know this is what I'm feeling, this is what I feel like doing, this is what I want to do. I remember my first smartphone. It had issues, but then I think I was still new to WhatsApp. So I was trying to maneuver through it, and then it couldn't send messages or something. And I remember in that moment, with the anger that I had, I crashed the screen with my hand. I have a scar, this scar. I crashed the screen until my hand was bleeding, you know, and I was not beaten. Funny enough, I was not beaten. But then again, no one bought me a phone. So like, okay, this is the punishment I'm getting, but then at least they're talking about it. So I had a long lecture. They sent every older person to come and talk to me about it. So it was my mom, from my mom to my shush to my uncles, all that. And I was like, okay. When I was crying, especially, you know, I'm angry for life. You know, I'm like, this life is too hard for me. I'm just a young boy trying to maneuver life. And don't think I'm getting the fair end of life, you know. So most of the times I could cry, and each time I was crying, I was being told I'm a big boy, I should not cry. Or at least I should show my brothers how to be strong. You know, at the time I think it made sense to be strong for them, but again, in retrospect, there's a lot of burden that carries within you, because you don't know when to show emotions, you don't know when to be vulnerable with people. So many times I can cry, but I have to be alone. And when are you ever alone, really? If it's at home, you have people at home. If you're at work, you're with people at work. Why are you crying at unalia kwa nini kwa kazi, you know? So it's all these things all together. Like I had a funeral February, one of my cousins died. I remember at that time I was so teary, but tears could not come out of my cheeks. And I was like, wow, this is wrong. This is wrong. But then I also couldn't get myself to cry, because there's so many people looking at me, or at least I thought they were looking at me. And I couldn't cry. I only cried that night at home when I was sleeping. That's when I felt comfortable. So that whole line that we men should not cry because we are men and we should be strong, I think that's a lie. I think the best way is for them to create a space where we can show these feelings without feeling awkward or weird, you know. The other one was I should not feel angry. You know that anger is it's like a cancer of sorts. So in my journey of trying to deal with my anger, I remember I could notice it was there, but I did nothing about it. Every time it was there, I opted doing something else altogether. And I never really dealt with it until the time that I actually understood I can face my anger, go beyond it, and see what lies underneath, you know. So these two are my common sentences and phrases I've had growing up, and they directly impacted my mental health, you know, because on one hand I cannot cry or shed tears, and then on the other hand I'm not allowed to be angry as well. But these are all common and very normal feel. Everyone gets them at one point in time. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. So one will be the feelings I had were normal, and two will be if I knew how, when, and even where I could get support, quality support or professional support to express or deal with my issues as I felt them, would have helped me to maneuver life more easily, you know. And then lastly, probably will be to forgive myself, you know, because I was so hard on myself and also on my brothers in some instances. I was so hard on them. Oh, I did not say that. I did not say that. Ah, okay. I think let me look at it from where I grew up in. I grew up in Kayole, you know, and in the ghetto, we do not have a health, you know, a behavior of seeking help, you know. Ideally, it's all about you're going through this challenge, you find your way of dealing with it or leave it, you know, just continue with life, you get. So my advice will be it's okay not to be okay to begin with, because one point or every once in a while you'll get moments where you feel low, you feel you need support. Sometimes there'll be because of obvious reasons, sometimes it'll be because there are no obvious reasons. But then whatever the circumstance, the issue is that all of us, even we psychologists, do have those moments where you feel you need help, you know. So I would say to fellow boys, fellow men, it's okay not to be okay to begin with, and then it's also okay for you to be in touch with the emotions. Okay, do you feel like crying, do you feel like screaming? It's okay, these are all normal feelings. Are you able to express them? Do you feel supported enough to express them? You know, I know as a society we have failed men in terms of expressing and dealing with emotions, but then if as men, as boys, and as a society, we can create environments where even if you don't know what to do with these feelings, at least you can talk about them freely, you know, without fear of being judged or being told to tone yourself down. You would probably grow to be somewhat able enough to deal with our emotions, you know, because more often than not, when a boy, even a child, is crying, the first thing you'll hear, or among the first things they'll be told, is nyamaza baba, we ni mtu mkubwa. But really, look at it in the long term. You tell them today, tell them tomorrow, tell them over the years. Eventually, you're telling them without telling them that crying is not acceptable, and probably even bad, you know. So they don't cry, or even if they want to cry, they can't cry, and they don't know when or how to cry. So creating safe spaces for women to express our feelings, talk about our feelings, even know what we can do when we're struggling with all these feelings will be a good way for us to be able to connect with our core selves, because I believe emotions are what makes us human, you know. Just remind yourself that each time you feel emotions, you're not less of a man, you're actually connecting with what it means to be a human being, you know. In the 2 years I've been at Shamiri, mostly it's ladies who seek help, you know. By help I mean the individual one-on-one sessions we have besides the whole group sessions. And I would want to imagine something still tells me it's because of the awkwardness to be vulnerable and seek help, you know, acknowledge that I need help, because you're often flooded, you know, and that to me is a concern, because again, you see, with therapy and counseling, it's efficient when the client is self-driven, at least can see the whole benefit of it. So sometimes it's hard to show them exactly why they need the help. And sometimes with a little conversation, you see they can see the benefit of it. So that is the major trend I have noticed. Boys are not really seeking help. They are not really seeking help. And yes, they are struggling with issues, because teenagehood is a very difficult time, you know. It's a very difficult time because there's all these emotions that your body is releasing at that time. There's this growth you can feel and even see in yourself. You're still trying to create spaces where you can, at least each one can reach to one, and then in that order we can go ahead and probably encourage each other to share.
I'm leaving.
Okay. I think this month you're celebrating men's mental health. So I would say, as a man, if you're seeing this and you can hear my voice, I'd want to encourage you. Every time you felt that you were low, what is some of the things you feel like you missed that would have made you to express yourself or feel heard, you know? And once you notice that, are you able to create that space for another man, you know, that at least we are able to share, you know? There's a study that was done, and it showed that men tend to share when they're busy with other stuff, as opposed to sitting for the purpose of sharing alone, because it's too much to connect to the emotions, and you are never shown how to do that from the start. So it's a lot of flooding, you know. So maybe when you're doing your day-to-day life, you know, on the road, on a matatu, going home or going to work, if your man is sitting next to you, you know, ask them just a simple question: are you happy today? Are you happy with your life? You know, have a conversation, you know, because most of us are not really happy. Most of us are not really supported, or at least you feel you're not supported. But there are so many avenues for support. And even if you cannot access one, you can create one, you know. Be there. First of all, create a safe space for you. If you feel like crying, what are some of the thoughts you tell yourself? You know, it's okay. Like I said, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to feel like crying. Let it out. Let it out. That is your body telling you that you've been hurt and you need to deal with that hurt. And then, as you're going through that, tell yourself that you're a normal human being. That's what it's normal to have these emotions. We all have them. Even animals have them to some extent, you know. But then, even as you do that, also remember to be kind with yourself. Do not judge yourself too harshly for it. Even if you feel like it's a whole heavy burden for it, check. Even if you don't want like prolonged therapy sessions, the activities you can do that will help you to connect with your feelings, connect with your emotions. And even as you do that, again, remember to create spaces where boys can learn to express themselves freely, and then create support for fellow men, so that at least together we can grow in shared vulnerability. And then in that regard, we can as well encourage other men to a behavior that is towards seeking help and seeking support in as many ways as support and helps feels and looks like to you. Yeah.